Stella looked at the golden blood on her hands and screamed. Footsteps sounded, and then a door opened into the room. Men poured in, shouting and leaping at the man next to her. She screamed again and huddled in a corner. People fought. Blood splattered the walls. Then all was still. A man approached her and knelt to look her in the eyes. His eyes held stars, a galaxy swirling. His face was white and cruel. "Hello, girlie. I won't hurt you. He's gone. Nobody will hurt you." He extended a pale hand, his mouth not moving even as he spoke. His face fixed in a rictus. Warm blood trickled down Stella's back as she stared at the hand. All she felt was fear. A ringing started in her ears. Those eyes. Pain erupted in her head. She slapped the hand away and ran underneath his arm. "Stop her!" She saw other people, each with the same galaxy eyes and rictus. Colors bled and blurred across her vision. She ran, ducking and diving through a door, and she was out. The street shifted through the colors of the rainbow. Instead of people, strange creatures with 3 legs, 5 arms, and 2 heads looked at her. Stella looked around wildly. Huge shards of glass jutted in the sky, and buzzing filled the air as the strange creatures rode large bees through the sky. Shouts came from behind her, and she ran. Stella glanced behind her. The cruel people poured out of a shard of glass, more and more, seemingly hundreds running after her. When she looked ahead, she saw more of them in front. She skidded to a halt, blood from her hair flying past her face. They descended on her, cruel eyes laughing. She stood, frozen in fear, trembling as they came. A small but strong hand gripped her arm and pulled her into a shadowed alcove. A short boy, his body somehow two-dimensional, gestured frantically at a bright green vent leading into one of the shards. "Come, quickly! The bobs are coming!" Stella tried to move, but her muscles wouldn't respond. The boy huffed and dragged her to the vent. "Come on, brainless!" She ducked in, her hands trembling. She shuffled forward and heard shouting from behind. "Damn it, kid! We won't hurt you!" Stella glanced behind and saw that the strange boy didn't need to duck, defying physics. "Hurry up, slowpoke! They almost got me!" She shuffled quicker. Soon the light filtered out, leaving her in an ocean of darkness, feeling her way forward through the tunnel of ice-cold steel. Stars twinkled into existence in the black, peering as if from behind a curtain. They were everywhere, a soft and peaceful light, comforting, beautiful. "What you looking at? It's getting stuffy back here." 2 stars in front of her started moving. They grew larger and larger. Stella started breathing faster. her heart thumping in her ears. They came closer, and she realized they were galaxies. Stella whimpered and started pushing herself backwards desperately. "Hey, what?" Two pale hands slammed into the floor beside her, and the galaxy-eyed man emerged from the darkness. Stella screamed, hitting her head against the low ceiling, and pain stabbed her skull. Stars erupted through the cosmos before forming into more eyes. So many eyes. Stella screamed, but felt warm, familiar arms grab hold of her, rocking her. She looked up, finding a beautiful blonde woman staring down at her, her face smiling. "Shh. It's okay, my little star." She smoothed Stella's hair back. "Let me tell you a story about bravery." Her blue eyes twinkled like stars. "Once, a boy," her voice faded, replaced by images. A boy looked back at a village nestled close to the river, cutting through the desert. He shouldn't be here. His parents had told him never to go to the dunes. Yet, there he stood, silhouetted by the night sky, his eyes filled with wonder as he stood at the top of the dune. The world had never seemed so big. On he walked, marveling at the glinting sand, the slithering snake, the hopping mouse, and all the wonders of the night. When he turned back and searched for the village, he could not find it. Afraid, he called, he screamed, he shouted, he cried, but there was nothing. He saw a man with stars swirling in his eyes. The boy ran, crying for help. The man descended on him like death. Finally, he could run no more and fell beside a crystal oasis. He saw the man coming, grinning like a wolf having caught its prey. The boy stood, tired and thirsty, so tired of running, tired of being afraid. The boy stood his ground as the man came. The man leapt at his throat, but passed through like a ghost and fell into the pool. The boy watched him sink, clawing at the surface desperately. The boy knelt and drank, curing his thirst, and continued his search, now unafraid. He crossed the dune, and before him lay the village, fires casting warm light. He stood there silhouetted against the night sky. Instead of eyes, his face held stars, and he was smiling. "Hello, sleepyhead. I got something to eat," the boy said, and Stella blinked. The dunes were gone, replaced with an opening in the ventilation system. The small figure stretched his hand out, holding a brown ball. Stella looked at it. "Oi, it's edible." "Well, I think it is. I'm not a food physicist. It's just a rolled up ball of bread. Take it. It might not kill you." Stella hesitantly took it and ate it. She glanced around, and her eyes were overwhelmed by rippling colors as if she had rubbed her eyes too hard. Stella sat down and traced the colors in the air with her fingers, rocking back and forth as she did so. "So, what you running from?" the two-dimensional figure asked, tossing his bread ball into the air and catching it. You running from one of those loony places, yes? I would too. Stella ignored him. What's your name? He asked. Stella looked at him blankly. He huffed, waving his hand with an irritated air. Stella shifted backwards, staring at the hand as if it was a snake. Uh-huh. Not a talker. Right then. What about starry? If I get hit on the head, I go all starry. No offense, but you look like you're seeing stars. Stella slowly nodded. The figure popped the bread ball into his mouth and stretched. I'm thirsty. You thirsty? She hardly heard him, mesmerized by the colorful patterns. He walked down another vent, and the sounds of footsteps faded away. Stella traced the rippling of colors with her fingers, enjoying the silence. Yes, silence was good. Silence means no pain. Abruptly, scuffling could be heard, and shouting. She flinched, rocking back and forth, putting her hands over her ears. Shouting isn't good. Shouting means pain. A scream of pain pierced her ears, and she cried out. That scream was the little boy's voice. That scream rent her heart, and she shut her eyes. A faint voice, the voice of the beautiful woman, echoed through her head. Help others. No, she didn't want to. Every time she had tried to help, she had been hurt. A gruff voice drifted through the vents. So, you were the gutter rat who stole my bread. Impressive, but nobody steals from Evander and gets away with it. That voice in Stella's head grew more and more powerful. She wanted to ignore it, but she could never ignore that beautiful voice. Stella crawled through the vents and came to an opening. Outside, in a dark alley, 3 men towered over a figure. It was the boy. The largest man kicked him in the stomach, and he cried out in pain. Stella whimpered, the voice in her head now even louder. The man kicked again, and the boy screamed, again and again. Stop! Stop! Please stop! Stella squeezed her eyes closed, and tears ran down her face. The man kicked again. Stop! He kicked again. Stop! Stop! She screamed, and fell from the vent to the ground, knocking something. Water started raining from above, and all 3 men whipped around. 3 pairs of galaxy eyes landed on her, and she pushed herself back against the wall, trembling with fear. All 3 faces contorted into grins. So, you have a little rat mate, thief. Without looking back, the man struck the boy's face with his heel. Stop! Stop, eh? He started advancing on her, growing larger and larger. Stella closed her eyes and lowered her head. Water ran down her face, washing her tears away. The voice was gone, but in its place was peace. The pain was gone. The ringing was gone. There was true silence in her head. She opened her eyes and looked up. Instead of the galaxy-eyed man, she saw a man with a jacket button as a head. She blinked and started laughing. The button's holes narrowed. What are you laughing at, girl? She raised a finger, pointing at his button head. Stop laughing, or you'll get it. She almost sobbed with laughter, her hand covering her mouth. I said, stop laughing. The man grabbed her shoulders and picked her up, trying to stare menacingly into her eyes. Stella stared back without blinking, laughter pouring from her mouth. The man raised a fist. Drop the girl, now. The man spun around, letting go of her. Two people stood at the entrance to the alley with sticks in their hands. Put your hands behind your head. They walked in, and one knelt where Stella lay, still laughing as she looked at the beautiful yellow sky. Hi there. Everything is going to be okay now. Stella's laughter faltered. That voice was soft, loving, caressing her ears. It was so much like that beautiful woman's. The woman took her hand, gently pulling Stella to her feet. Such a soft hand. We're going to take care of your head injury, okay? The woman turned to another person, speaking. Poor thing got hit on the head pretty bad. She must be no more than 12 years old. Stella stopped listening, looking around for the boy. He was nowhere to be seen. But when Stella looked up, she saw somebody in a dark alcove in a building. 2 pinpricks of light glinted where his eyes should have been, and an image formed in Stella's mind. A boy silhouetted against the night sky with stars for eyes. The figure raised a hand, and Stella raised her hand as well. When she blinked, he was gone. She was aware of tugging and saw the woman smiling at her. Come, little star. Stella followed her, thinking of the boy, and smiled.